Let's move to the college football playoff bracket. We're going to project the top 12 teams, who's going to be there at the start of the playoffs. Andrew, give me your 12.
Got it. So starting from the top, and then we'll do some reasoning afterwards. I have Ohio State as my number 1 overall, Texas as the number 2 team in the country, number 3 Clemson, number 4 Penn State, number 5 Georgia, number 6 Oregon, number 7 Miami, number 8 Kansas State, number 9 Notre Dame, number 10 Alabama, and the last 2 spots LSU and Boise State.
So we don't have a ton of differences here. Obviously, I think when we take a look at the top, I have Texas and Ohio State switched. I'll go through mine really quick. Number 1, Texas. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Notre Dame. Number 4, Penn State. Number 5, Clemson. Number 6, Arizona State. Number 7, Oregon. Number 8, Alabama. Number 9, Miami. Number 10, LSU. Number 11, Georgia. And number 12, Boise State. We have a difference at the top there, and I think that comes from week 1, correct?
Yeah, I think that just Ohio State's going to be too much to handle for Texas in the shoe. Obviously, they're going in with a redshirt sophomore who hasn't started a game, but I think that between Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, they'll get it done, especially at home. I was looking at a stat that said that, like, in Power 4 games, like, the home team wins 70% of the time. There's going to be 90,000 plus people in the shoe, and they're going to be coming off a national championship. It's going to be tough for Texas on the road. I think that I give that to Ohio State. That gives them the edge for the 1 and 2 spot, but I can definitely see Texas taking it. They're the number 1 team in the AP poll. They're like, not undoubtedly, but like one of the best teams in the country. I could see it flipping either way. I just have Ohio State winning that first game of the season.
Yeah, like you said, could see it flipping either way. I got Texas winning that game. I have them as that top team in the SEC, and I think that will be enough to get them that 1 seed. But Ohio State, I also have them winning the Big Ten championship game, as I'm assuming you do as well at number 1. Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that these 2 spots also come down to who wins the SEC and who wins the Big Ten. I think that those 2 are undisputedly the 2 best conferences, and I think the number 1 and 2 spots will be reserved for those 2 champions. So could I see Penn State in this spot as well? Definitely. Could I see Georgia or maybe even Alabama in that spot, either 1 or 2? Definitely. So I think that these 2 are kind of just reserved for whatever those 2 are. I think that Texas comes out of the SEC. I think that Ohio State comes out of the Big Ten. And then obviously they would have played head to head. So that'll be the flip there.
I very much agree. I think regardless, I think we're going to see potentially, I think one of them will have only 1 loss, but I could see 2-loss champ at number 2. Like absolutely. It has to come from those 2 conferences, though.
Yeah, 100%. I don't think there's any other way that could go where anyone would be even close to 2 losses and even within, like, maybe the top 5.
So the biggest difference, we both have Clemson and Penn State at the very top. We both have Clemson, I have Clemson behind Penn State, so we have them flipped. But I have Notre Dame in front of both of them because I have them winning against Miami in week 1 and being able to hold on to their schedule the rest of the way, essentially. I think that they obviously get jumped by those 2 big conference championship teams, but you got Penn State above Clemson. That's because they lose to Ohio State in the conference championship game.
Yeah, Penn State definitely has a tough road to get to the championship game. They play Oregon and Ohio State in the regular season. So I think that if they lose one of those 2 games and then also lose in the Big Ten championship, they'll slide in right around 4. But this is one of James Franklin's best ever teams they put together at Penn State. I don't trust him to win the big game, but I mean, he's gotten there at least last year playing Oregon in the Big Ten championship, and I think he can get there again. And if he does get to the Big Ten championship, I don't think that the committee penalizes him for losing that game. So I think that they probably go in as the 3 or 4 seed and probably come out no lower than 4 or 5.
Yeah. So when I was looking at it, I remember thinking, why do I have, with Penn State having such a tough schedule and losing to Ohio State, why do I have that 2-loss non-conference champion above what I potentially will project Clemson as being maybe a 2-loss champion in the ACC? I was kind of questioning it a little bit. And that's why I ended up putting Penn State above Clemson, essentially, because I was looking at the end of Clemson's schedule and I was thinking that they're going to lose at some point to a South Carolina team. And so they're going to be pretty high up, but they're going to lose late at some point, or they're going to lose to LSU, like, to start. Like, they're going to have one of those out of conference losses that I think kind of weighs them down a little bit. And then they're going to drop a game in the ACC at some point. If they don't, I still kind of like that area. I just think I'm giving Penn State kind of the benefit of the doubt that their schedule is just going to be tougher at the end of the road, and those losses aren't going to be ugly. And I think that the committee will just give the nod to Penn State there and Clemson. Do you want to move to the further part of the bracket?
Yeah, just last thought on Clemson. I think
Yeah.
that I'd like to see like some more out of Cade Klubnik. It's going to be his third year starting, so I think that if he can just avoid one of the big losses, like just dropping a game during the regular season, it's tough to say just because but it is the ACC, so you want to see a Clemson team that is supposed to be one of the dominant teams of that conference. If Cade Klubnik can just keep it together, I don't have a not a down loss, and I think that they could easily slide into 3 or 4. So that's my final thoughts on Clemson.
So the biggest difference I think comes with we have all of the same teams here, except I have Arizona State winning the Big 12 and you have Kansas State. I think I've got a ton of respect for Kansas State and all the returners that they bring back. But I just really like what Kenny Dillingham is doing with this program on top of Sam Leavitt. And I think obviously losing Cam Scatterbo is tough, but I think that they're going to be able to rally a little bit. I still think that they're going to be a very good offense, and I think that they're going to be a maybe not pass heavy, but like pass successful offense. Like they're going to be able to do a lot more through the air than they were last year, just based off of the projection and the growth that I see from Sam Leavitt.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really argue Arizona State that much. They showed us a lot last year. I think that the one argument would just be the fact that they were super reliant on Cam Scatterbo last year, and we saw that in the Texas game. We saw that just throughout the course of the season. He tried making a rally for himself as a Heisman hopeful. Obviously, that didn't end up panning out even remotely, just because of who he was running against. And in any other year, I don't think it would have either. But still, he was a very big part of that offense. And do I think that offense maybe takes a step back and then maybe 2 steps back and then a step forward because of the fact that Sam Leavitt will improve once again? I think you saw a lot out of Sam Leavitt towards the end of that season as well. And he's a gunslinger. I think that he can be a very good college quarterback, and I can definitely see just anybody with a good quarterback in the Big 12 being able to be competitive. But I personally have to go with Kansas State just because of the fact that they have a bunch of returning starters on a defense that was one of, if not the best, the Big 12, definitely the best front 7 in the Big 12. Avery Johnson is a career 35 and 10 touchdown to interception ratio. He is one of the best quarterbacks in the Big 12. I think he can really make a name for himself, maybe right behind Sam Leavitt as the second or third best quarterback in that conference. And I don't see a road, a playoff path in which they don't have to grind out a bunch of these games. But I think that in this Big 12 conference, Kansas State can really make a name for themselves. And I want to go back to Avery Johnson again. He showed me a lot last year. I feel like he did have a couple big mistakes, but it was his first year starting at quarterback, at least first full season starting at quarterback. Those mistakes are going to happen, especially for a college quarterback. I think that if he can limit some of those mistakes, rely on his defense, and just the fact that he is a dual threat quarterback in that conference, in a conference that is relatively weak, he can make sure to pull out some of those games, not make the big mistake. I can definitely see Kansas State at least making it to the championship game, and in that case, winning it.
So some of the outside teams that we end up having, I have Arizona State as high as 6. You've got the winner of the Big 12 at what? You have them at 8. So I have it because I think Arizona State's only going to have one loss. I think that's one loss conference championship in the Big 12. I know there's a bit of a drop off from the SEC and the Big 10. I think that's still respectable. So I have them as high as 6. I think they'll get a reward for playing in that extra game. But our outside teams here are the same. And you have Notre Dame a lot lower, so we'll get to that in just a second. But I wanted to kind of lump these teams in here really quick. Oregon, Alabama, Miami, LSU, Georgia. You've got Georgia in the SEC championship game. I do not. I have Alabama. And then Oregon, we both have out. And we have Penn State in favor of them in the Big Ten championship game. And then we're looking at some of the other teams, such as Miami in the ACC championship game, right, to Clemson, losing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got LSU just sitting there as another team that neither of us have in the championship game, but is also going to make the playoffs, just in the same vein as Oregon.
Yeah, I mean, I think that Oregon is pretty solidified as one of the teams that I think that will be in the college football playoff, more so in the inside, possibly looking out rather than the outside looking in. I just don't really see a path in which they have a relatively easy schedule. I think Penn State is one of maybe 2 ranked opponents that they play all season long. If they do lose that game, they won't be in the Big Ten championship. So I think that they'll just be, at least unless something miraculous happens to Penn State. So I think they'll be at the outside looking in, at least for the Big Ten championship game, but they should be safe there at 6. Miami is definitely, I have 100% faith in Miami, just because being a fan for so long, we've never made the college football playoff, at least like this current iteration of it. And like even when it was a 14 playoff, I don't really see a world where Miami doesn't make it, just because again, I am a fan. I'm high on Carson Beck. And I think that if they can just find a way to go 2-1 in their top 25 matchups, they'll be fine, especially if that one loss is against Notre Dame. And then Clemson, the national championship or the ACC championship. So those two, I think, are good.
If their only two losses are against Notre Dame and Clemson, I think that they're going to be in. Yeah. And I don't know exactly what the seeding will be, just based off of, I don't know exactly the resumes of the teams that they'll be put up against as far as the committee is concerned. But they're going to be in if they only lose those two games, and if they're close. They're pretty decent matchups. They show us something. And then a lot of times people forget about what happens in week one, and that's an unfortunate part of all of this. People are human, and we could potentially see a Miami team, if those are their only two losses, go on a massive string of wins if they initially lose to Notre Dame. But obviously we have those flipped. You have Notre Dame losing that first game, correct?
I do have Notre Dame losing to
so
Miami.
That's why they're partially a little bit further down.
Yeah,
that would be a big win taken off the resume. All right, let's talk about Group of 5. Then we're going to get into the Week 0 picks. We both have Boise State. Any other team that potentially you were looking at?
Yeah, I mean, UNLV last year showed us a lot, especially like losing their quarterback in like the first couple games of the season, and then being able to still put a roster together that was highly competent, and then kind of just see that team to the finish line. I think that they definitely have a shot as with the Group of 5 team to make it. I think that Group of 5 team is probably relegated to that 12 spot, but I definitely see Tulane possibly in there. Liberty is always one of the contenders, possibly Memphis. I think that out of the AAC, they could definitely make a run, but I think that between those 5 teams, Boise State, Memphis, UNLV, Tulane, Liberty, one of those teams will be the team to get it done. And I kind of see it like playing out like it did last year. I don't really see any of those teams making a huge impact, but it's nice to see like a smaller school being able to get in and maybe possibly make a run.
Yeah, and also it's not a complete guarantee that they would be relegated to the 12th seed. I think it's just we just don't know really what we have just yet, and who's going to be able to put together a good enough resume to really be able to say that they should be somewhere like 10 or 9 or anything like that. I chose the safe pick just as you did with Boise State, but I really am also taking a look at Tulane and UNLV, and I think those have both been very relevant Group of 5 programs recently. They've got a shot. It could be wide open. You never know. We're going to take a look, and we're going to see maybe 4, 5, 6-0 teams in the Group of 5, and you know we're going to say any one of them could potentially go. It'll just be about how they finish the year out, and hopefully they don't end up having friendly fire and they end up having like their only loss to another top Group of 5 teams. I'd rather them have one of their losses to the teams in the playoff or something like that. Have a more respectable resume in that sense, but should be close. So those are the college football playoff bracket picks that we have. Hopefully we get them all. Hopefully we get all 12. Oh wait, we omitted Michigan. I definitely feel like that is something that we also need to address too. I just feel like their ceiling wasn't as high as some of the other Big Ten teams. And how many Big Ten and SEC teams are we going to have in here? We got a good chunk of them. We got 2 ACC, an independent Group of 5, which is obviously the automatic bid, and then 1 Big 12. So the rest are SEC and Big Ten. We're running out of spots here.
Yeah, I mean, Michigan only plays 2 preseason ranked teams, so I think that is definitely in their favor. But Bryce Underwood, as great as he could be, he's still going to be a true freshman going into the season. I struggle to think that this team can completely flip the switch, and if they could definitely be contender for it, but if they slip up just once and then lose to Ohio State in the last game of the season, it could get dicey for their playoff position, especially relative to the SEC teams that will be fighting to get in there.
And you have to see how that Ohio State game goes as well. I mean, Michigan is going to have a pretty, like you said, they play 2 teams ranked in top 25 in the preseason. They're going to have definitely probably stack up some wins, but how many quality wins are they going to be able to stack up? They could potentially get jumped by a 9-3 good SEC team. And I think that's exactly what happens here. And that's why I have, Georgia and LSU right there. Who knows if they'll actually be 9-3, if they'll both be like 10-2 or something like that. But I'm sure we'll see a 3-loss team at some point.